glad to have you with us. And the issue on the second leg of our discussion this morning is SUBEB, that is the State Universal Basic Education Board, the educational policies and matters arising. To discuss this on the platform today is Right Honorable Victor OLABINTAN, Chairman ONDO SUBEB. It's nice to have you join us, sir.
How are you? Good morning. Good morning, viewers at home.
All right, good morning, sir. Looking at educational policy, especially in the basic class. Now, the State Universal Basic Education Board, as the SUBEB, is an offshoot of UBEC, and in the States, it was established to address the inequality in educational opportunity in this basic level in order to improve the quality of education being provided for children across Nigeria. Do you think it has been able to provide this uniformity across board?
Thank you. Let me put it succinctly. You see, the UBEC is an offshoot of UBE.
UBE, yes.
Yes, the Universal Basic Education. And to drive the Universal Basic Education, UBEC was born. And that is at the federal level. And at the state, we have the state SUBEBs, the State Universal Basic Education Boards. That of the federal is called Commission, Universal Basic Education Commission. The essence is that the first 9 years of education is called the basic one. And for a child or for anybody to develop academically, you need these first 9 years. Very critical, very important. And the policy of UBEC is that at this level, no fee is charged. No fee at all is charged. Everything is free.
Everything?
Yes, everything. When you get there, the parents are just to provide uniform for their children. And even when you go to the northern part of Nigeria, where you have this problem of so many out-of-school children, they go to the level that even the World Bank provide uniform for some puppies, in the northern part of Nigeria. But because in the southern part of Nigeria, education is just synonymous with us, therefore the parents provide this thing and provide the textbook. All other things is provided for by government. And even in ONDO State, at the primary school level, we provide textbooks for the children. We give them the textbooks, only that they cannot take the textbooks home. But while they were in school, they will be given the textbook to do, particularly in the basic subjects of English language, mathematics, and basic sciences and basic technology. Because these are the 4 key at the primary school level. You see, with all this, as far as we are concerned in ONDO State, I think we are doing very, very well. Every government has, you see, the education is the bedrock of any development. And because of that, successive governments in ONDO State are giving this priority. And of particular importance is this government of Oluwarotimi Odunayo, Akeredolu SANCON. He has made basic education of particular importance. And when he came on board, what he did was to say that, you see, when you talk about education, particularly at the basic level, it must be child-friendly. It must not, you see, when children are learning under trees and all those things, they are not good. And when they are learning under dilapidated classrooms, it's not good. And what Oluwarotimi Odunayo did when he came to power was to tackle it headlong.
All right.
And so far, as of today, we have renovated and constructed over 900 primary schools in ONDO State. Right. Over 900, out of about 1,300 plus. Therefore, I think before the end of his tenure, we will have gone past almost all will have been renovated.
All right. We're still going to delve into the achievements of SUBEB, especially on your watch. But let's look at it. The universal basic education, which is monitored under SUBEB in the states, it ought to be from primary 1 to GSS 3, right?
Yes.
And they are supposed to be provided for, as you said, the fee paid and what they need, except for the uniforms and that. But it's not an uncommon thing to find new entrants into JSS 1, having to come with our own lockers and chairs to be used. Why is that so?
Let me put it certainly clear. When we say it is free, when you have a child, you still have to clothe your child.
That's not clothing. Furniture.
I know I'm talking. If you have a child, you still have to clothe your child. You still have to provide some basic amenities for your child. You see, for the secondary school level, which is the GSS 1, in some schools, yes, it's not the school don't collect money from you. They ask them to bring their own locker and share, because government is providing. When Akeredolu came on board, I said a lot of improvements are coming. Now we are providing locker and share to the schools. This locker and share cannot be provided once. It has to be in phases. We are doing it in phases, and as we speak, they are supplying to schools now. As I'm speaking to you, lockers and chairs are being provided for schools, and we're also providing furniture for teachers. All these are going on. What we are saying is that in the past, before Akeredolu came in, locker and chair were not provided. But when he came on board, as part of the universal basic education policy, he has to include it so that we provide locker and chair. Not only locker and chair, we provide mobile laboratory, both for primary and junior secondary. And I want us to distinguish in ONDO State, the primary education, the SUBEB handles majorly primaries 1 to 6.
Okay, so it doesn't cover the
it covers GSS. I will tell you what I'm there to say. The TESCOM handles the secondary education. Under the universal basic education policy, there is supposed to be disarticulation, so that you separate the junior secondary from the senior secondary, and that is coming on board now with the establishment of the National Senior Education Commission, which has now been established. And with that now, the senior secondary will be taken over by the Senior Secondary Education Commission, while the junior ones will revert back fully to SUBEB. Because under that policy, SUBEB is supposed to take care of the first 9 years of education. But in ONDO State, the teachers that teaches in the junior secondary, they are employed by TESCOM, because we didn't disarticulate. Okay. But provision of amenities, building, and all other things for this junior secondary is handled by SUBEB, and that we are doing effectively.
All right. This disaffiliation that you talked about, I remember that sometimes in 2002 or 2003 thereabout, it was done that we had the separation of junior schools from the senior schools, and afterwards there was a reversal. So why are we going back to it? Is it safe to say that it's just the popular saying that 1 step forward, 2 steps backward for the country?
What happened was that as a result of the acute shortage of teachers, it was discovered that having junior and senior secondary is more or less like duplication, because it is handled by TESCOM. It is more or less like duplication. You have a set of principals and vice principals in the junior school. You have a set of principals and vice principals in the senior school. And you now discover that most of these teachers who are supposed to be in the classroom teaching, they are now on duty post. And when they are on duty post, you have to give them less classroom work so that they will be able to do their normal work. And it was felt not only in ONDO State, in almost all states, except states like Lagos and some states in northern Nigeria. Almost all other states in the southern part of the country felt that the need for disarticulation is not now, and therefore they still have to merge them. So that but with the coming on board of Senior Secondary Education Commission, NSEC, with the coming on board of NSEC, we are believing that the disarticulation will naturally be done, because the Senior Secondary Education Commission will now cater for the last 3 years of education, that is the senior secondary education, and we, that is the UBEC, will now take care of the first 9 years of education. And with that, the responsibility will have been properly shared, and money will now be coming from the federal government to take over senior secondary school, so that more money will now be provided for UBEC to give to states, so that we can handle it together. You have to remember that the economy of the world is not in good shape. In the last 1 decade, things have been fluctuating, going up and down, and to worsen it, you have this global phenomenon that ravaged the world. And because of that, the economy of so many nations are going down. And as a result, there is the need for other people, other sectors like the World Bank, like NGOs and everything, to partake in education, so that we can be able to manage it very well. But for us in Ondo State, we are doing very well.
Right, Honorable OLABINTAN, you in June 2022, you spoke about the audit of public and private schools in Ondo State.
Yes.
How did that go?
Oh, it went very well. Went very well. For the first time, we were able in Ondo State to have accurate data about the number of pupils, number of teachers, number of infrastructure that we have in both our public and private schools.
What does the data say? Perhaps you let us into some of it.
You see, the data, let me give you the certainly. The data from the perspective of government, the data shows that government is doing very well as far as education is concerned, in the provision of teachers, infrastructure, and all other things. But at the private sector, it was discovered that most of the private schools don't have what it takes to run school. Like, for example, you get to some of these private schools, they just convert a section of their house to private school. They just get rent just 3-bedroom flat. They convert it, they say it's school. Because what makes a school is different from that. So and when you get to some of these schools, again, when you get to some of these schools, you discover that 90% of the teachers that teaches in all these private schools are not qualified.
What step did you take after the audit?
You see, the audit is done by UBEC. And it is done by UBEC with a view to making sure that where you have anomalies, it is corrected. The UBEC is, I received a letter from UBEC this week telling us that the data is ready and they are going to give us in Ondo State our own copy so that we can implement what is inside. And what is inside is that, one, this is for government now. By the time the data is ready, we'll present it to Mr. Governor, and so that Mr. Governor can, like for example, allowing private schools to run, there had to be conditions. And those conditions must be met. It's not that just anybody wake up, you want to establish private school, and then you go there, you approve. Conditions have to be given. What is the minimum number of classrooms you must have before you can run a private school? 2, what must be the qualification of teachers that run the private school? All these are the things we are going, by the time we get the data, we'll write to government so that government can take a definite policy. For now, the Ministry of Education is the one that approves or disapproves establishment of private schools. We are an agency under the Ministry of Education. We have conducted the data. After now, we will now give that data to the Ministry of Education for onward transmission to Governor for implementation. So that all the views, all we have seen, and the areas where government needs to work harder, there is also there. Because, for example, the data showed us that in some rural areas, there are less infrastructure for the available pupils in school, while in the urban centers, there are more than enough classroom, more than enough infrastructure compared with the available number of pupils. And this we are doing now, and we are now saying now, before we can say we want to build a school in any urban center, we will know the number of classrooms they currently have, the number of pupils. Does it match? If it match, then no more.
All right. So what's supposed to be the standard of the number of pupils in a class? Talking about the infrastructure now, how would you be able to determine the sufficiency?
For sufficiency and for proper and adequate classroom management, it should be more than 40 per class. But currently in Ondo State, it is 35. Currently at the primary school level, it is 35 pupils per class. And that ratio is what we use in knowing the number of teachers that we must provide for each school.
So are you saying that
apart from the minimum of 6 teachers per school plus the headmaster making 7, because when you have a school, you have primary 1, primary 2 to 6.
So are we getting that ratio right as it stands in terms of the student-teacher ratio?
Yes, we are getting it right now because we have made it very condition. It's now a condition for us to measure a school, and that is why we did some redistribution a few while ago. We had to do some redistribution in some schools where we have number of teachers not proportionate to the number of pupils. What we have is that where you have maybe 35 times 6, which gives you that minimum. With that, you are entitled to 6 teachers plus the headmaster making 7.
All right, sir.
Therefore, if a school has that number of population, it's not supposed to have no more than that teacher. But every other one that you have above that will now calculate it based on 35, then additional teacher. If you have another 35, additional teacher, and all along like that. And basically, most of our schools in Ondo State, particularly in the rural areas, what they need is just 7 teachers per school.
Okay, depending on the population.
Yes.
Anyway. All right, facts at our disposal shows that some jobs are poorly done, because we're still talking about infrastructures now. There are some jobs that are poorly done and some that have been abandoned. What is the board doing to call the contractors back to site or to other?
Let me clear the air here. As far as SUBEB is concerned, if your job is not up to standard, it is not approved. You cannot even be paid. Therefore, we have 3 levels of supervision. Level 1, we have our technical team that goes there to monitor from one stage to the other. From the basic level, the foundation level, before you get to where you now continue to lay this thing, up to DPC level, up to RPC, before roofing and all of that. 2, level 2, we have the technical team from UBEC. They also come to monitor. It is when these 2 monitor that you can be paid. If not, you are not going to get paid. As per abandoned projects, we have very small as far as SUBEB is concerned.
How would you determine as small?
The number is just insignificant. You see, it's not easy to abandon SUBEB job. You see, during COVID-19, money was not available. And as a result of that, few of the projects were abandoned. Few. And what we have done now is that we have asked the contractors to go and look for money and go back to site and do it. And they are now on site doing it, because the system of payment in SUBEB does not allow for job to be abandoned. The job in SUBEB is either for 3 months, maximum 6 months, and this is done to avoid inflation, so that the inflationary rate will not affect the job. And as you are doing the job, you are getting paid. In SUBEB, money is there before contract is awarded. And if money is there before contract is awarded, it now depends on now the contractor to do his job and will get paid.
All right, Right Honorable, before you go, let's ask, sometime last year, the federal government said there will be the construction of some e-education centers and all that. Has this taken off?
Yes, they are building some now. We have one in Owo that is being, we call it the smart school. They are building it. That one will be an example for the whole of Ondo State. They are going to build one in each of the senatorial zones. That one is yet to materialize. And as far as we are concerned, we also have in each local government e-learning centers. And the e-learning centers are managed by teachers specially trained, particularly the Jollyphonics, who are specially trained to come and manage the teachers in all these areas. And as a result, the e-learning is becoming functional. And by the grace of God, by Tuesday next week, the Jollyphonics will deliver to UBEC e-learning materials. A situation where even when the teacher is not in the classroom, then those children can be taught.
Look, you get us into the link when that thing
when they are on Tuesday, when they are going to deliver to us, I will invite you.
Right,
so that you will be there.
Over there, thank you. In 30 seconds, are you recruiting currently? In 30 seconds.
We are not recruiting. Emphasis: no. We are not recruiting
teachers.
We are not recruiting teachers.
All right. That's good.
All right, thank you very much, Right Honorable OLABINTAN, for having you today on the show. I believe next time we call on you, you oblige us.
Thank you very much. Good morning, viewers.
All right, my dear viewer, this is where we'll be drawing the curtain on today's edition of AM Today, and of course the last edition for the month. We hope to see you next month. My name is Folashade Ogidon, and from Said.
Yeah, do enjoy your Friday and the rest of the weekend. We'll be back next month.